let's start MCPs. Now, before understanding MCP, let us understand the most important thing, that is how does your AI model work. Let's suppose you have an AI model and a user asks something and it will generate an answer. Now, if you notice something, this AI model can only think, right? You ask something, then it generates answer, and that's all. If you ask what is Docker, it will answer. If you ask what is Kafka, it will answer. But the problem is it can't do anything. If you want to connect this AI model to external world, you need something, right? Now let's suppose you want to send an email. Now the problem is, if you want to send email, you need to connect this AI model to the outer world. Now we have something called as tool to do this thing. Now think of tools in this way. This is your world, real world. This is your AI model. This can be your Gmail. This can be database. This can be API. Now if you want to connect this AI model with these things, you need tools. Now tools are something which allows your AI model to perform stuff. If you want to send an email, you need a tool. If you want to execute the database, you need a tool. If you want to call an API, you need a tool. Now let's understand why we can't just give APIs directly to the AI, right? Now there will be a question in your mind that why we can't give direct API to your AI model, right? Why there is this tools thing in between, right? Now the problem with giving direct to your API, this API can be database also, right? This tools can be database, API, your file system, right? Now just imagine your AI by mistakenly delete all your files. Now this would create a disaster, right? This should not happen. So by default, your AI models are built this way that they would have restricted access to your internal files and anything which is out of your system. So this is not, this is not the incapability, this is intentionally. These are built intentionally in this way that they should not access anything outside of them. Then we introduce tools to make it happen. That too in a secure way. We don't expose everything, we just expose the limited amount of things to AI so they can talk to API, DB, file system, right? Okay, so now we have understand tools. Now let's suppose, okay, now you want to send, let's suppose you have a Claude, right? Now Claude want to send an email, right? Now in order to send this email, Claude has to click on send email button, right? Now the component which will actually click on this button instead of on behalf of Claude will be something else. It will be the other piece of component, other piece of software which will click on this send button on behalf of Claude, right? Because Claude can't access your APIs directly. Any AI model cannot access your API. Any AI model cannot run your code, right? It can only use other stuff, other software to run those tasks, right? Now let's suppose Claude want to send an email, then they will have a Gmail. We need to connect to Gmail. Now tomorrow we want to connect maybe Notion. Day after tomorrow you will say Slack. Then you will say Canva. Then you will say Figma. And a lot of more applications. Now let's suppose tomorrow you say, I want to replace this with ChatGPT. I want to replace this with Grok or maybe Gemini, right? Now the problem is, in order to do integration with this application, outside application, we need to perform some custom logic, custom integration. Here we need to perform some custom integration, right? We need to do authentication, response body, parsing, all that stuff. We need to do it here. Now this becomes the responsibility of the backend developer. They have to write this code on themselves, right? So this is not scalable because, and this is also called a classical problem called as M into N integration. It means you have four vendors and you want to connect 5 applications. So you will need 20 custom integrations. So that is a huge problem. So this was the huge problem. So we need some kind of standardization, right? So that is where your MCP comes in. So what we will do, we will standardize this custom logic. We will build a custom logic, not a custom logic, we will build a standardized logic which will work for everything. If Claude want to call maybe Notion, they can do it through this standardization. If ChatGPT want to call this, they can do the standardization. We replace this with anyone, maybe Claude, ChatGPT, Grok, it will work, right? Here also, Notion can be connected by any of the AI application, because the problem is, if we don't have any standardization, we need to maintain the API versioning, we need to maintain the dependencies, we need to because nobody knows, right? Tomorrow maybe Notion change their APIs, maybe tomorrow Gmail would change their integration, that now you need to integrate in this way, right? This would create some problems. Now we have MCPs which will come here. Okay, so before understanding MCP, we need to understand very major thing. So if we talk about MCP, now MCP means Model Context Protocol, right? Now this word protocol, right? This word we need to understand, protocol. Why we need to understand protocol? Let's suppose you have a client, you have a server, right? Normal client and server, right? If this server want to talk with, if this client want to talk with this server, and then this server want to talk with the client, they do it through HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, web pages. When we want to talk with client and server, then they follow a specific set of rules, and that rules are called protocol, right? If this client want to call server, they will say /get index.html. If server want to respond to client, it will say okay 200 okay. Now this is their way to talk with each other. Same way people talk in English, people talk in Hindi, people talk in Spanish, French, right? Now this MCP is also in this way, right? Now in MCP, this is also a protocol. It is a way how AI talk with external tools, right? It is a protocol. I'm again saying it is a protocol, right? Okay. So now you understand it is a protocol. Now every AI application can connect to external tools through a standard method, right? So because of this, we would not have to write custom integrations for each application, right? So that is the best way. Now tomorrow, if GitHub want to expose their APIs to some AI model, they can use MCP. If Notion want to do it, they can use MCP, right? So GitHub don't need to worry about that any of them use them. Maybe Claude can use it, ChatGPT can use it, Grok can use it, right? Now let's understand what are the components of this MCP. So if we go deep, Claude, Cursor, and maybe ChatGPT, they are not AI models. They are not AI models. These are AI applications. Inside this, we have AI models, right? Inside we have Sonnet, Heku, we have Opus. In Cursor, we have Grok now. In ChatGPT, we have GPT 4.5, 5.5, now 5.6 also, Terra and Luna also, right? So these applications are called host. Now we are going to study the architecture of MCP. How does the architecture of MCP looks like? So we have a host. Inside this host, we have a MCP client, right? So these Claude, Cursor, ChatGPT, these are called as MCP host. And inside this, we have MCP client. Now outside of this, we have MCP servers. So this can be of GitHub, this can be of Notion, this can be of maybe Canva. So they all have their MCP servers, right? Now if this Claude, Cursor, ChatGPT want to connect with GitHub, now they will not call GitHub API. They will basically call GitHub MCP server through MCP client, right? If they want to call maybe Notion, again they will this Claude will call MCP client, and on behalf of Claude, it will call MCP server of Notion. This MCP server, which is built on top of GitHub's backend, this work as a translator. This will translate the MCP client query, and it will provide data, right? Same with this also. If Claude GPT cursor need anything, they will call MCP client, and then MCP client will call MCP servers through MCP protocol. MCP protocol, normal protocol. Like this is how you will talk, this is how I will talk. They both agree on something that this is how we will talk. Simple. Now let's understand how will be the request cycle will be there, right? Let's suppose this Claude want to push the code, and we say, a user say, okay, I want this repo to, I want to push this repo, I want to push this code to this specific repo, right? Now this Claude will, what it will do for the first time when it will connect to MCP server, it will perform a tool discovery. We have something called as tool discovery. Now tool discovery means we are on the first connection, we are requesting all the MCP server to expose their tools. We can say it advertisement. All of them will advertise their tools to MCP client, and MCP client will inject those tools into the Claude context. How it will do? Maybe this GitHub MCP server. Now inside the server you have three things. In MCP server you have a tool registry, then you have basically schema, then you have description, right? Now basically how it will do, let's suppose you have a create a repo. This is your tool. So this will also, it will also contain the parameters, which parameter it will take. This also will contain. Then it will contain the description, that what this tool can do. In description you have to write that this create repo can push code to GitHub here. So when this MCP client will call a tool discovery, there will be multiple tools like this, and all of this will go to MCP client through MCP protocol, and it will inject into Claude context. Now when I'm asking that I want to push code to GitHub, it will already know that okay, I have this create repo tool available, right? So this will be the first step. Then okay, this GitHub server sent 3-4 tools, maybe pull code, push code, create repo. Now this MCP client will actually tell Claude that these are the tools which are available to the GitHub MCP server. Now this Claude will decide that which tool I want, and this Claude will actually in second call it will tell the MCP client that okay, I need to create a repo, and these are the parameters. Maybe this is the user ID, this is the repo name I want to create. This will pass as a parameters, and this MCP client will call only that one tool to that MCP server, and under the hood this MCP server will call GitHub internal APIs. APIs are not going anywhere, they will be there only. There will be a layer on top of them, MCP server, right? So it will call GitHub APIs underneath, right? So this is how your MCP work. So we have covered a lot of things in this. We have a host, we have an MCP client, we have a protocol, then we have MCP server. Now this MCP server can be anything. It can be database query also. Let's suppose we have a database, right? In tool discovery, this database will tell okay, these are the tables which I'm having, right? So to this, right? So I think everything is cleared so far, and we are almost done with MCPs. And yes, this MCP is just a translator which basically translate your this MCP client query, and it will go to GitHub servers and fetch the GitHub data and send it to MCP client. Now why we are not doing all this with the host? Because host is responsible for something else. Host will be responsible for the conversation history. Host will be responsible for the memory, right? Host will do all that stuff. It will maintain the conversation history in the chat, right? You chat on ChatGPT, you have a long conversation, you have a memory, all that stuff will be done by host. Then host, basically in host we have this MCP client. This will call all the MCP servers which are connected to the MCP client, and provide the data to the this host, Claude Cursor GPT. I hope you understand, and in next video we'll cover that what is MCP 2.0, and in coming videos we'll also cover about the RAG. We will also cover more about the AI agentic things. Thank you so much for watching this video.